Oh boy. The Old Bailey. This place always makes me feel strange. I seem to get chills down my spine and break out in a nervous sweat at the same time. Well, I didn't think I'd be back here so soon. That's my line. Good morning.
Hey, Stinky!
Hi, Grant. How are you doing? Good morning, Mr. Natsume. It was only 2 days ago that I was declared not guilty here. Yes, we somehow managed to prove he didn't stab Miss Green in the back. But now this. Another morning, another murder, and here I am again in this hellhole. Can't keep coming to court. I'm beginning to think he's right. It really does seem as though he's cursed. Mr. Naruhodo, I'm afraid I have some bad news. Mr. Natsume, good morning. Yes, morning. So here we are again. Yes, again. What an awkward conversation. Judicial Assistant Miss Mikotoba Esquires, what's the bad news? Oh dear, you heard, did you? If you come in shouting at the top of your voice, people can't help hearing what you say. Oh, I am sorry. You've done nothing wrong, Miss Susato. Now, what is it? Well, it seems that the prosecution in today's trial will be led by Lord Barak von Zeeks. That's nothing new at this point. Von Zeeks. Oh no, oh no, no. The so-called Reaper of the Bailey, the most legendary prosecutor in the land. In the trial 2 days ago, he pursued Sosuke-san and I relentlessly. Yeah, Dracula again. Of course, by the skin of our teeth, we managed to pull through, but still. Perhaps Mr. Natsume's acquittal in the last trial wasn't the end of the matter after all. Yes, I know what you're thinking.
Stinky!
Yes, I know what you're thinking. Legend of the Reaper, that says. Nothing can save a person in the dock when Lord von Zeeks is a prosecutor. Oh no. But even if that person is found not guilty, the accused will meet a mysterious end one way or another. And we've experienced it firsthand. It wasn't his fault, though. But of course we don't know that at this point in time when we're flashbacking. The man we successfully defended yet met the most terrifying end after his acquittal, right here in the Old Bailey. Do I have to put up with those ice-cold eyes born into my soul again? Cursed by evil spirits and now by the Reaper. Pair of petrifying perils, potentially. Well, if it's potentially, at least you appear to have hope, Mr. Natsume. Locum student Mr. Naruhodo Esquire. Yes? I'm innocent. You have to believe me. You more than anyone now. Don't worry. I'll be your steadfast ally every step of the way in this battle. I promise. And this promises to be a hard battle, I fear. Well, the trial is scheduled to begin shortly. We should move into the courtroom. Oh yes, I forgot to say. I'm afraid he won't be able to make it. Mr. Sholmes, I mean. That's probably for the best. If he were here, I might be tempted to rely on his help. And that could be seen as a weakness. If Lord Von Seeks were to notice, he'd prey on it mercilessly. At least, that's my gut feeling. Mr. Naruhodo. You're right. Yes, you're so right. Oh, well said, Locum student Mr. Naruhodo, Esquire. Well said. I swear on the sword at my side and on the spirit of Kazuma that it harbors. I'll show him what a Japanese lawyer can do. I'll set you free with honor. In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session. I now call upon the counsels with the prosecution and defense to declare their willingness to proceed. What's up, Grand? Prosecution is ready. The defense is ready, my lord. Readiness for the trial, my lord Tenipani's friend? Not what the defense needs. What you need is readiness for your inevitable defeat. It's not just in my imagination, it's really there. Lord Von Seeks has such an animosity towards us Japanese for some reason. It was some time ago that he first became known as the Reaper of the Bailey, I believe. Oh no, why not? Well, that I was aware of, because I know he streamed earlier on. Like, he started Pokeroll today, as far as I know. And I do know that he is starting Divinity Original Sin 2 with a group of friends as well, so that probably impedes more on the time he has. That's unfortunate. These past few years he hasn't appeared in court at all. I have not seen the scope of the game. I did not know it was open world. That's... Yeah. I believe that would be a pain. I've done more lurking in the D&D, or, well, Pokeroll streams, because I'm not too invested in Pokeroll or D&D. At least if it's not me playing it. Not like I can even memorize how the game works anyway, but... yeah... He would need to cruise. Yeah, that's true. Also, Alice, why are you not in bed? Go to bed. I know you're asleep by this point in time. Go to bed. Yet now he's back in the courtroom, though for some reason, only when I'm defending. This Reaper, this curious distinct for us Japanese, is a prosecutor shrouded in mystery. I don't know, I recall one stream where a couple hours earlier, Alice would go to bed. Well, you know what, Alice? I have one thing to say to you, and that is... Yep. The sweeper with his curious Right, I already read that. Still, this isn't the time to be pondering that. I have to concentrate on Sosuke-san's trial. Furthermore, I now call upon the 6 ladies and gentlemen of the jury. You get no translation. You've been chosen at random to represent the will of the people in this trial. Are you ready to fulfill your duty? Absolutely. I had a feeling this Larrikin wasn't innocent before. I must say that I feel especially ruthless on days when my hat refuses to sit right. Oh, well, I rather like how you're wearing your hat. I think the ruthless look is very fetching, actually. Okay, so this is a new phase. I need to be somewhere at 10 o'clock. I have a very important meeting. Let's make this quick. I've seen him before. I couldn't agree more. I need to take home 5 bob tonight or the missus will go through the roof. Oh no. Hold on, I have to see this translation, or this clip. Ha 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 ha. That's funny. I gotta post it to my server. I forgot to do that. Oh my god. It won't let me fucking copy it. Stop it. Oh my god. It won't let me copy just the link. Cringe. Google Translate doesn't work for this. That's so funny. The British jury system is so very different to our own, isn't it? It's quite extraordinary to think that the power of judgment is in the hands of 6 members of the public. And that the judge can only pass sentence when all jurors are in agreement about the defendant's guilt. 6 citizens of London chosen at random, or at least that's the idea. The prosecution would draw attention to the fact that the accused was on trial here but 2 days ago. Accordingly, where possible, the same jurors have been asked to return for duty today. Very well, let us commence the trial. Lord Von Dietz, your opening statement, please. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, it is not the intent of the prosecution to cast doubt over your past decision. However, the innocent verdict afforded to this eccentric Nepalese before has had dire consequences. Did the accused repent for his wrongdoing in that affair? Far from it. Instead, he used his freedom to perpetrate a most blood-curdling crime. Namely, that of the attempted murder of his neighboring lodger, an innocent Englishman. To explain the circumstances of the crime, the prosecution calls its first witness to the stand. The detective responsible for investigating the scene and the accused himself. Witnesses, your names and occupations, please. Yes, sir. Tobias Gregson, Detective Inspector at Scotland Yard's Homicide Division. Sosuke Natsume from the Empire of Japan. The government ordered me to come here as a student to study your language and culture. Mr. Natsume. Yes, my lord, sir. I'm quite sure I'm not mistaken. You swore an oath never to set foot in my courtroom again. I remember it as if it were yesterday. It was the day before yesterday. The day before, in fact, my lord, but close enough. Believe me, this is the last place I want to be. Inspector, let's hear from you first. Explain the case for the court. Right you are, sir. The incident occurred at the Giradeb household where the defendant has lodgings. In the ground floor room of the victim, Mr. William Shamspeare. The defendant has already admitted to visiting the victim on the night in question. Mr. Shamspeare collapsed in his room as a result of poisoning by strychnine. He was found the following morning when the landlord, suspecting something was wrong, broke down the door. This means I presume that the door to the victim's room was locked at the time of the incident? Correct, my lord. It was locked from the inside, making entry to or exit from the room impossible. Although the victim, Mr. Shamspeare, lives to tell a tale, he very nearly didn't. The man was halfway to heaven when we first found him. I was the first officer on the scene, my lord. And I have a photographic print here that I took at the time to show how it looked. What the fuck is that bulging out of the back of his neck? Also, that puddle over to the left is curious. I wonder if it's a gas puddle. Yes, a chilling scene indeed. The man looks very much deceased. That's right, everyone present believed that's exactly what he was. Very well, I shall accept this photographic print as evidence for the court. The crime scene photograph had a photographic print of the scene taken by police upon their arrival. The victim can be seen unconscious at the table, having been poisoned. Now then, Mr. Natsume. Yes, yes, yes. As a dependent, do you have anything to say at this juncture? They're haunted. Haunted by evil spirits. Hello, Will. How are you doing? Good gracious, what's haunted? My lodgings. There's been a whole series of strange happenings in my lodgings. The tenant before me died in mysterious circumstances. A woman was stabbed by no one on the street outside. My neighbor was poisoned, and me? What about me? I've nearly been killed countless times. Killed, Mr. Natsume? How? Even on that fateful night, it happened. When I returned from Mr. Shamspeare's room, I lit my gas stove and climbed into bed, but before long, the stove went out, and somebody tried to kill me. You must always extinguish all fires before retiring for the night, Mr. Natsume. But it's so cold, my runny nose would freeze. The point is, I didn't poison my neighbor. I'm doing good, Will. Progressing further into this game, which I'm kinda excited for. Why am I being accused of this? Why is my existence so cursed? Thank you, witnesses. I believe I have a reasonably clear picture of events. If I could raise one more, my lord. One more conclusive point. Conclusive? Go on. Fortunately, the victim, Mr. Shakespeare, has regained consciousness after his ordeal. And he has named the true culprit. The poison consumed by the victim was administered in a cup of tea that he drank on the night in question. Tea, my lord, that was brought to the victim's room by the accused. The accused? Good grief. Yes, that's the crux of this whole case. If Sasuke's-san is innocent, then why? Why has the victim accused him? Well, Mr. Natsume, what have you to say to this accusation? At evening, yes, I did take some freshly brewed tea with me when I visited Mr. Shakespeare's room as a gift. The public water pump outside always freezes at night, so I bought bottled water especially to make it. And this is the result. Never will I touch tea again. Never. I don't think that's the problem. The public pump was frozen, you say? That's not information we've heard before. That will do, thank you. Now, according to our laws, the defense must have the opportunity to cross-examine witnesses at least once. Therefore, I call upon these witnesses now for a formal testimony. I presume the prosecution has no objection? None whatsoever, my lord. Good. Then you will give your account of events on the night in question to the court now. Yes, my lord. And here it begins! Excitement! It was around 9 o'clock that evening when I visited my neighbor and I took some tea with me as a gift. We had a heated literary debate over a nice hot drink, after which I went back to my room at around 11. My tea was completely harmless. He couldn't have locked the door behind me otherwise, could he? Strychnine takes some time to have an effect on the body. People don't keel over immediately after taking it. The victim would have been perfectly able to lock the door after his guest left. The argument still stands. It all seems relatively straightforward. Excuse me, but that testimony does raise one rather crucial point, I think. Mr. Natsume claims his tea to have been harmless, presumably, though. The teacups have been examined for traces of the poison, haven't they? Why didn't I think of that? Well, as it happens, no. We haven't been able to. Did I hear you correctly, Inspector? Scotland Yard has failed to examine the suspect substance? How could you have overlooked something so important? Isn't that the first thing you should have done? Our learned Nipponese friend is falsely incensed. The inspector said Scotland Yard was unable to examine the tea, not that it was overlooked. Unable? Why? It's simple enough. There was none left, not a drop. Someone must have been very thirsty indeed. With current scientific techniques, it's not possible to test for poison under such circumstances. We only need a drop, but that one drop does actually have to exist, funnily enough. The lack of examination notwithstanding, it appears nothing other than that tea passed the victim's lips on the night in question. I see. Thank you. The matter is clear. Cast your eyes over the jury, my learned friend. What? You can see it in their faces, I'm sure, the recognition of the accused's guilt. Your client's fate is all but sealed. Shut up. In mere moments from now, you will lose and your compatriot will be damned for all eternity. He's right, I can feel all 6 of the jurors looking daggers at me. But I can't let them beat me down. I won't. Counsel for the defense, proceed with your cross-examination. Yes, my lord.
Hold it!
Were you and your neighbor good friends, then? No, we weren't friends. Not at all. Not at all. Never ever. A simple no would have sufficed. Then, why did you decide to pay him a visit? Mr. Shakespeare fancies himself as having great literary knowledge. As a fellow scholar of English literature, we find much to talk about together. Come now, you and Nipponese could understand the finer points of English literature. Roar! Come now, no Nipponese could understand the finer— Wait, I already said that, I think. And on the night in question, that was a topic of conversation as well, I presume. It was the day of my last trial when I was acquitted. I'd just arrived back at my lodgings. When I ran into Mr. Shakespeare outside on the street, that was at around 6 o'clock. We exchanged 1 or 2 pleasantries, but it soon turned into a heated discussion. He was on his way out at that time, though. So I promised to visit his room that evening at 9 to continue our debate. But did I have ill intentions? No, not 1, not 2, not any. Not at all. Never ever. Retro, fuck you. A simple no would have sufficed, I feel. Then tell the court what did happen when you visited the victim's room. Hey Fenrir, how are you doing?
Hold it!
A literary debate about Shakespeare's works, I think you said, didn't you? Shakespeare, a very worthy topic of conversation, I must say. I do hope everyone's having a good day, and or night. And if not, then you are stinky. Oh yes, my lord. Romeo and Juliet, who was stronger? It was a profoundly pleasurable parley. English retro. English. Romeo and Juliet. Who is stronger? I know I'm going to regret asking this, but how did the debate go? Got sick from the thing? You mean the virus? That's to what I have to say to Alice calling me cute. I'm not cute, I'm evil and a gremlin. No speak English. You're speaking English right now. What are you talking about? Well, we both agreed that we would reach a conclusion more quickly with the reenactment. I am evil gremlin. I do not have subtitles. What the fuck do you mean? So we battled it out in a Greco-Roman style naturally. Oh, what? Mr. Shakespeare had all sorts of costumes in his room for just such a contest. So you wouldn't say a reenactment, you mean you were actually in costume? He has Romeo, I has Juliet, and after a vigorous wild tussle, I as Juliet came out on top, a victory I'll cherish forever. What the fuck are you saying, Retro? Speak English. I dare not imagine the terrible scene of carnage. The fact remains that it was you who prepared the tea and took it to the victim, correct? I boiled the water in my room and made a pot to take with me. Retro, please. I'd heard that he was too poured out of tea himself, you see. It's true, there was no sign of any tea leaves in the man's room. Retro's being cringe, that's what happened. Shakespeare died, though. Wait, no, he didn't die. He's actually still alive. He's still alive. I wanted to do something nice, to be friendly. So why is everyone looking at me with such suspicion? My tea was harmless. Of course I was. And do you have any basis for that statement, witness?
Hold it!
Yes, there was not a drop of tea left in the victim's room anywhere, was there? That's correct. Anyone would think the fellow had never had a pot of tea before. He must have licked it dry. Which is a pity, because one drop is all we would have needed to analyze it for poison. And you say that you returned home to your room at 11 o'clock, Mr. Natsume? Yes, definitely. By heaven and earth, I swear it. The landlord was able to verify that as it happened. He confirmed that the defendant went back to his room at 11 that night. And how is the landlord able to attest to this? He, said it was the lamps, I believe. The lamps, Inspector? When tenants return to the room and start using gas, the lamps in other parts of the house flicker. Yes, Mr. Garrett seems to pay a lot of attention to the comings and goings of his tenants. There's only one key to Mr. Shakespeare's room, I know that for certain. So he must have locked the door himself from inside his room. The victim has confirmed that to be the case, yes. So I'm right, my tea was harmless, completely harmless. If you take poison, you die. Everyone knows that. It's not that simple, I'm afraid. What do you mean?
Hold it!
How long does it take for symptoms to appear, then? According to the coroner I was speaking to at the yard, about 30 minutes after the poison's consumed. Then the victim suffers violent convulsions, cramping and stiffness, and eventually dies from asphyxiation. So there's a 30-minute interval between when the poison is ingested and the onset of symptoms. There seem to be a lot of different types of poison in the world, that's for sure. Oh dear, death by poisoning again. For the third time, if I remember right. I will hydrate. I'm not cute, I'm evil. Death by poisoning again. It's always so awful. 30 minutes is a long time. Certainly long enough for the victim to have locked the door behind the accused after he left. You can't deny that. And it further degrades Sasaki-san's alibi. I have the medical report from the doctor who examined the victim here, my lord. Fair point. It spells it out, really. The accused is the only person who could have done it. Very well. The court will add this report to the court record as evidence. Oh yes, I see it here. Delayed onset of symptoms. Great. Ingestion of a small quantity of strychnine. Toxic effects present 30 minutes after ingestion. High likelihood of the substance having been mixed with the tea the victim is drinking, but no sample could be obtained for testing. The poisoning incident occurred at around 1:30 a.m. on 21st February. Assessed from the victim's pocket watch that appears to have been broken when the man collapsed after the delayed onset of symptoms. No container for the poison was found at the scene. So, is this saying that the victim died, quote-unquote, at around 1:30? Or that the poison was ingested at 1:30? Because either way... he stuck around for around 2 hours. There's no way, given the time, that he was able to...
Objection!
The argument still stands, you say? I think not, Inspector. Come again? I think you'll find that you've overlooked a very significant chronological inconsistency here. A chrono what? What are you on about? According to this report, the victim must have consumed the poison at around 1:30 in the morning. And yet, the defendant, Mr. Natsume, left the victim's room at 11. Yes, that's right. There's more than 2 hours of missing time there. In other words, if there was poison in the tea that Mr. Natsume brought to the victim's room, how could the victim have fallen ill to it 2.5 full hours after the defendant left? The defense's argument is entirely reasonable. How do you respond, Lord Von Zieks? Here we go with the chalice again. Pray forgive the discourtesy if my mind has wandered. I was considering what cuisine would best complement the contents of my hollowed chalice this luncheon. How could it have happened, you asked? I do hate to shatter illusions, but my Nipponese friend appears to be chasing a phantom idea. A phantom? Is it so hard to imagine that the victim drank his tea after the accused had left? For example, at the time stated in the medical report, yes, around 1:30.
Objection!
Mr. Natsume brought the tea with him to drink together with his neighbor. And in Japan, there is a well-known saying, drink tea while it's hot.
Objection!
And in my country, there is an even more apt saying. There is nothing more refreshing than cold tea. Point is, if there was such a long gap, there may be other ways to explain how the victim came to be poisoned. Other possibilities. What sort of possibilities, counsel? Well, for example, the man could have had another visitor. Another visitor? That's a very bold assertion, my learned friend. From someone who has nothing to substantiate it. Or the victim could have taken the poison of his own volition. You suggest this may have been a suicide, counsel?
Objection!
Mr. Shimsbury categorically denied suicide. The idea can and must be discounted.
Objection!
Baby slap. But he could be lying. Is something wrong, Lord Von Zieks? I was listening to the sound of the carriage pulling up outside the courtroom. Pray forgive the discourtesy. Carriage? What carriage? It would seem that the key player in this case has just arrived. Huh? Out, beef candle. I've spit a walking shadow. Oh boy. A poor player that struts and frets his hour upon the stage and then is heard no more. It is a tale told by an idiot full of sound and fury, signifying nothing. The words of... what's his name? He said the exact same thing. Who, sir, are you? William Shakespeare, my lord. Alas, 'twas I, undone by these bitter events. I am the victim. How does the judge not even know the victim? I will stretch. What's he doing here? The prosecution seeks to call this gentleman to the stand. With his testimony, my learned friend's futile resistance will be utterly crushed. Calling him as a witness? Very well, counsel. I grant your request with interest. I'm curious to discover what the court shall hear from the victim himself. Happy am I, Shakespeare, to regale thee with my tale of woe, my lord. But I still have my own tale to tell. My own tale of worse woe. I can regale the court with the tale of my perfect innocence and perfect English. That will do, Mr. Natsume. Let the court now hear from the victim. My god. Alright, so that's Mr. Shamspear. Who's that other man beside him? Yes, I feel sure that we've caught a glimpse of that man before. State your names and occupations for the court, please, witnesses. A writer of words so sweet they do scent the breeze, an inventor of ideas so profound they compose the earth. The unrivaled poet, the unmatched scribe, William Shakespeare. With a great bard to be recalled to life anew, lo, what a magnificent man. Good fellows, I am he who ponders such a miracle, William Shakespeare. The name's Meterman. Adron B. Meterman. I work for the Altamont Gas Company East End branch office. He looks like Popeye. I remember now, it was yesterday on Briar Road. Oh yes, she's right, it's him. What's this? What's that man doing over there? It looks like he's trying to see into Sasuke-san's lodgings. Something wrong, Mr. Naruhodo? Excuse me, could we have a word? And then he just ran off. Yes, we spotted him outside Mr. Garadeb's house that morning. And he's a gas company employee? What does he have to do with this case? So, Mr. William Shakespeare, you are the victim in this miserable affair, correct? Oh heaven, oh hell, do you command me to remember? That sweet poison that didst cross me and cross mine innocent lips. I subpoenaed him for the trial, with his doctor's permission, naturally. Hearing the testimony of the aggrieved will remove any room for doubt from the juror's mind, I'm sure. Behold, you have only to rearrange the letters of my name to see that me's a seraph, an angel indeed. Thus be I noble of mind, sweet of nature, and verily honest of heart, as all heavenly angels be. Because there isn't a less contrived meaning in your name. No, not at all. The jurors seem to be very moved by this man, I'm afraid. They're actually taking the seraph anagram idea seriously. Thank you, witnesses, for your illuminating introductions. But my lord, what's the man next to Mr. Shakespeare doing here? The gas man, I mean. What, me? Well, now. Allow me to enlighten my learned friend. You recall, I presume, your earlier impertinence? When you suggested that the victim had another visitor to his room on the night in question. And moreover, that the victim is a compulsive liar. I didn't quite say that, but you did. This young chin stroker here is here to controvert your bald claims conclusively. Is that not so, Mr. Meterman? Hang on, no. I'm just here... I hereby call for your formal testimonies. We'll tell the court as lucidly as possible what happened on the night in question. One may smile and be a villain. Yes, it doth pain me, but let the truth be spoken. The truth of that wintry night of my discontent. With no layabout, my neighbor did cometh in the evening bearing a gift of tea. But merry, bitter was his drink, and when he left, I did fall prostrate on my table. 'Twas the tea alone did pass my lips that late hour, naught else. I was outside this bloke's window in the freezing cold all night, keeping an eye on his room. No one else visited his room but that short little round-backed Eastern fella. Wait, what did you say? You were keeping an eye on Mr. Shakespeare's room all night? That's right. Of course the bloke's window is all but blocked up, isn't it? But there's a little gap in the bricks where you can see into the room. So I spent the night trying to keep my teeth from chattering as I peered in through that. The question is, sir, why? That is the question. Well, no, that's because he's on my list. What a piece of work is a man. Wherever wouldst thou not stare in wonderment? What are you talking about? This buzzing busybody hath not part in this play. I pray thee, pay them no heed, make no more ado about his tedious words. What'd you say about me? Calm yourself. This court is concerned with what happened on the night in question. Nothing more. Indeed, that is so. And as the testimony we have just heard clearly reveals, there was no one other than the accused present at the time who could have carried out this crime. Well, I believe this may be the final testimony of the trial. Now, counsel, the defense may proceed with the cross-examination. Yes, my lord.
Hold it!
To be clear, by neighbor, you were referring to the defendant, Mr. Natsume? Oh, indeed, sire. Perchance thou wouldst that I call him the man from upstairs? And at what time did the mustached Nepalese visit you in your room? Our meeting was promised for the hour of 9, and lo, did thee come to tender a gift of fragrant tea. Details which are in accordance with the defendant's own testimony, yes. And we were broiled in such a literary debate as history hath not seen before. By which I presume he means a discussion about who was the stronger, Romeo or Juliet. Shakespeare did play the part of young Romeo, whilst my neighbor played the fair Juliet. Each of us dressed as would our characters be to bring weight upon our merry experiment. I dare not imagine this scene. Accurate. Frailty, thy name is woman. Canst thou imagine how dismayed I was? Yes, I had heard of the eastern art of jujitsu, but... Ne'er did I dream 'twould be a skill practiced by the comely maiden. Juliet beat Romeo up? That is not helping her case. I believe the court has heard enough about your earth-shattering literary debate. Perhaps you could reiterate your statement about the tea that the accused brought to your room? My liege, I am thy servant. Gladly I would do thy bidding.
Hold it!
Let me stop you there. Mr. Natsume left your room at 11 o'clock, but it wasn't until after 2 that the poison made you collapse. That amounts to more than 3 hours of missing time. If the defendant had really put the poison into your tea, that 3-hour window of time is something you're going to have to explain. Gladly. 'Tis an easy task. Can you please stop dancing? What? I did drink of the tea not while my guest didst tarry, but after he took leave of me. Faith, 'twas stone cold, but at least 1 hour past midnight, barely were my lips parched.
Objection!
Akbar!
That doesn't sound normal. Nay, 'tis quite ordinary, sire. After all, thou wouldst recall our fiery debate. Amidst such argument, there'd be no time for fiery tea. Romeo and Juliet again, and who was stronger? Mr. Shakespeare, in summary, allow me to confirm. Did you not come here with the intention of naming your attacker? But of course, my liege. 'Twas a stooped lover of words did attempt to shuffle me off this mortal coil. We all know what that means.
Hold it!
So, you didn't have any kind of evening meal? Dinner? Supper? Fie on luxury, fie on gluttony. To eat thrice daily is but a waste of time. Sorry? I would that my belly were full, no more oft than the sun doth rise. Please stop being weird. Well, most heroic eating habits, I must say. Night and day do I fill my hours with learned study of the great bard and playwright. Hence is it that there doth not in my chamber be than the customs of mine art. That would appear to be the case, as even a rodent was found starved to death in your room. Now I think of it, it's not just food that was conspicuously missing from that room, is it? I don't recall seeing a single player script anywhere. For I have devoured them all. What? You've eaten your scripts? Every word be within my skull. Didst thou imagine otherwise? No, that wasn't misleading at all. Now could you turn around, do you think? Which brings us to the conclusion that the only way the poison could have passed the victim's lips is in the tea. Wait. What? Yes, unlike the other one, the inside of the cup is completely clean. I suppose you must have drunk the contents before the tea had a chance to leave a mark. I always gulp it down, too. Sorry, Mr. Naruhodo. Well, if you just sip it little by little, it goes cold. Really, I shall have to instruct you in the proper way to take tea. There is some tea left over. This must be the cup that Mr. Shakespeare was drinking from then. It's stained on the inside. Tea does that, I'm afraid. Even green tea. What the fuck do you want, Bass? Tea does that, I'm afraid. Even green tea. Oh, really? I've never noticed before. You've never noticed? Well, I never leave it in the cup long enough to leave a mark. I would like to gulp it down. Drink tea while it's hot, that's a Japanese way, isn't it? Oh dear, so many people seem to have the wrong idea about our culture, and most of them are Japanese. So there are stains.
Hold it!
But the windows of that house have all been filled in. A historical artifact of the now defunct window tax. Yeah, right there. All bricked up horribly. But as it happens, there's a little part of the brickwork at the bottom corner that's been opened up. I was looking through that gap. Yes, there were a few bricks loose, weren't there? And for some strange reason, a couple of bars of soap lined up on the ledge outside as well. I don't like going around poking my chin in other people's business, especially on freezing cold nights. But them's my orders, so that's what I'll keep doing, as long as there's breath in my body. What's with all the theatricals today? Out of interest, Mr. Meterman, after the accused had left and returned to his own lodgings. Did you see the victim leave the room at all? No, he never left. He was in that room the whole time as far as I'm concerned. And we can therefore discount the possibility of suicide. How can you be sure of that? The police carried out a thorough investigation of the scene and found no receptacle for the poison. And since we know the victim didn't leave his room, and hence didn't dispose of the poison's container himself, it's clear that this was no attempted suicide. Only the culprit could have removed the receptacle. Ah yes, lucidly explained to counsel. Thank you. It really was. You can't argue with the logic.
Hold it!
You say a short little round-backed eastern fella, so you can't be sure it was the defendant then?
Objection!
How many other short little round-backed Nipponese with a mustache do you think there are in London? Well, of course, it's only a narrow gap and it was quite dark, so I didn't notice the mustache. But he showed up at around 9, so I'm pretty sure of myself. And when the person you saw arrived, did he and Mr. Shakespeare drink tea together? Nah, sorry, I couldn't say. Why not? Because I couldn't see into the room all that well, could I? But what I did see was the silhouette of that little round-backed fella wearing a pretty dress. Then the pair of them started some kind of wrestling match. I tell you, I didn't know what to make of it. I suppose that was the Romeo and Juliet championship battle getting underway. Mr. Meterman, allow me to confirm one final time. Apart from the accused, can you state with certainty that no one else visited the victim on the night in question? No question. Yes, man's honor. Huh? My lord. Goodness me, yes, Mr. Foreman? I've kept my mouth shut and listened up to now, but this has gone on long enough. Are you all with me? Are we to understand that you, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, are in agreement with one another? You've reached a unanimous decision? Too right, we have. Are you all with me? Here we go. The defense is in the middle of a cross-examination. To be honest, I was holding out a bit of hope for you, young man. Especially after you identified those few hours that followed the accused leaving the victim's room. Yes, the 3 missing hours as you put it. But in the end, what difference do they make? None as far as I can see. And since that's now apparent, there's really no reason to delay our decision any longer. Like I was saying before, if I don't take 5 Bob home with me tonight, the missus will blow her top. What's that? Sorry, I didn't quite catch what you said. Very well, let the court be apprised of your decisions. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you will state your leanings as to the defendant's culpability.
Guilty!
Guilty.
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 Guilty!
Well, we lost, chat. Game over. SMH. All of you? Well, it would appear that the jury is indeed unanimous. So, this time at least it seems justice will be done. All's well that ends well, as they say. This calls for a toast, I feel. To the guilty being punished. Get up, Mr. Naruhodo, please. The trial isn't over yet. What do you mean, Mr. Sato? What about the information I found in this encyclopedia of British law I have? That obscure right that belongs to the defense in these situations, remember? The summation examination? Yes, that's right. We don't have a jury in Japanese courts, of course. But here in a British court of law, if you can reverse the decisions of a majority of the jurors, we can force the trial to continue. This trial can't end now. Whatever it takes, I just can't let that happen. The defense moves to invoke its right to a summation examination, my lord. Why am I not surprised at my learned Nipponese friend's inability to admit defeat? You choose to cling desperately to some archaic rule you barely comprehend instead of accepting the truth. Certainly no other defense counsel in recent times has exercised the right to a summation examination. Because they all know that once the jury's mind is set, it cannot be altered. Nevertheless, the right remains and must be upheld. The defense counsel's request is granted. This court will proceed with the summation examination as outlined in the Encyclopedia of British Law. Thank you, my lord. Are you and your fellows prepared, Mr. Foreman? Believe me, my lord. We know all about this young lad's tenacity. And we're ready for it. Very well. In that case, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I hereby call upon each of you to state the grounds upon which you find the defendant guilty of the crime for which he stands accused. The victim may not be well off, but he's a noble man and straight up. There's no reason to doubt the man. Well, I do declare the good gentleman has no reason to lie. In fact, I think he's rather splendid. Just look at the accused by comparison. Each Japanese stoops all the while and has a mustache. Very fishy. There's no evidence to suggest the Yingling actor is a fraudsman, for now at least. I really don't care, like, I just need this trial to end quickly. 3 hours of missing time is nothing when you reach my age, you know? Nothing at all. I knew it. Every single one of them seems completely convinced. It would seem that all the jurors have come to the conclusion that Mr. Shakespeare is a fine, upstanding, and honest citizen. If you ask me, they've all been bewitched by his strange theatrical movements. And sadly, nothing Mr. Natsume has said appears to have registered at all. Well, here goes. Let's not forget. I've pleaded with the jury on Sasuke-san's behalf before, and it worked, so you never know. Before we begin... I already know. It's gonna be a tutorial. Oh, no. No need. No need whatsoever. Thank you for the kind offer, Ms. Susato. But I've been through plenty of these summation examinations already now. I think it's important that we don't delay the start any longer than necessary. Of course, I understand, and I'm quite sure you're right. If you're confused by anything at any point, you can turn to me for advice whenever you like. I'll be there for you. The key to this is really listening carefully to each juror's statement. Finding two that are contradictory and pitting the corresponding jurors against each other. Without further ado, please, counsel, proceed with the summation examination. Yes, my lord.
Hold it!
Well, there are plenty of people in London who seem noble but poor. Couldn't some of them also be liars? I've no doubt about it. Like that shaky client of yours, for example. Absolutely not. Mr. Natsume is no liar. Look, the point is, the only thing that passed the victim's lips that night was a Japanese man's tea. When you take the gasman's testimony into account as well, the truth couldn't be any clearer. Well, that's alarmingly logical. Let me be frank here. I'm a gentleman with a gentleman's values. If it turns out that the old Shakespeare chum is a rotten liar after all, I'd gladly change my decision about the defendant. So, he's pretty biased because he's a gentleman himself, but he's also honest and is willing to admit that he's wrong, which I can admire. And I'm sure my fellow gentlemen on the jury would do the same, isn't that right? Well, yes, perhaps, though I don't see it happening. Eh? What's that? Utterly gentleman here, you know? You'll have to speak up. Look, I really don't care about all this nonsense, I just need this trial to be over. Fuck off. How many gentlemen do we actually have on the jury, then? Alright, sir, I may hold you to that. Don't forget what you said.
Hold it!
Are you saying you believe the man to be trustworthy because he's rather splendid? No, that's not what I said. The point is, the man is a victim here. No reason would he have to lie. And yes, he is rather splendid. So you say, yet again. Meanwhile, the man who stands accused behaves so suspiciously. It's exhausting to look at him. I'm afraid he's not splendid at all. Splendid logic there, madam. Thank you so much.
Hold it!
No, not one of those who thinks there's reason to find the man guilty. But he is fishy. There's no point dancing around the fact. He's Japanese, he has a mustache, and he stoops. So that's all reason to be suspicious of him? Really? You see, you arrive at the conclusion in just 3 steps. 3 steps like a waltz, in fact. You know, the more I think about it, the more this trial seems like a dance. You seem to be several steps ahead of yourself, though, and you're on the wrong foot. No, there's nothing but circumstantial evidence here. There's no actual proof of the defendant's guilt. But the victim's version of events is backed up by what the big-chinned man next to him says, isn't it? 1, he saw the Japanese man there. 2, he saw no one else. Steps 1 and 3 are repeated, stupid. It's another 3 steps. Oh, this really does seem more like a waltz, doesn't it? Right. In the prosecution rule, waltz its way to victory if I let you speak much more.
Hold it!
A fraudsman? What do you mean by that, madam? It really is a most tiresome problem for the company, most irritating. We can be absolutely certain that a customer is stealing from us without hard evidence. We can't even threaten to take action for fear of being sued. I'm sorry, you've lost me a little there. Who are you? I'm the wife of Augustus Altamont, owner of the Altamont Gas Company. Good gracious, Altamont gas, you say? Gas is the future of energy in this country and around the globe, where proper handling is essential. As I'm sure our employee from the East End branch office would be the first to agree. Absolutely, Lady Quinby. Gotta be used properly. Altamont gas is the best in the world, of course. I think we may have solved the mystery of the bow from earlier, Mr. Naruhodo. Right, he bowed in deference to his employer's wife, did he? So, would I be right in assuming that the reason Mr. Meterman was watching what Mr. Shimspeare was up to in his room? I'm afraid that there's no end to the lengths that the population of the East End will go in order to steal our gas. So I really have no choice when the company identifies somebody as a possible fraudsman. But to dispatch a worker to watch the suspect day and night, we're very thorough in our investigations. So you mean Mr. Shimspeare is... I wouldn't come out and say it in public. But you can finish that sentence with the grubby little gas thief. You have noticed the public gallery in here, have you? The eye of man hath not heard, the ear of man hath not seen. Faith wouldst thou wound me with thy words were I to let them penetrate the skin. But seraphs hear not insults, only choirs of angels in song. We may not have evidence yet, but my workers won't stop buzzing around you until they find it. And when they do, you'll find yourself blasted back to your angelic heights in an Altamont gas explosion. Holy fuck. So Mr. Shimspeare has been stealing gas. I wonder, juror number 4, if you wouldn't mind adding that information to your statement? My pleasure. Was it the bit about ripping that thief apart you enjoyed? A little before the part about abject violence, if it's not too much trouble. Yes, of course. This could be it. This could shift the balance. This music's a bop.
Hold it!
It's a bold claim. How can you be so sure? It's really very simple. Noble Lady of Gas, I pray thee, hold thy tongue. I beg your pardon? Hath that rank odored air of that doleful darkness illuminate any place in this assembly? Nay. 'Tis of sole import here that someone wouldst extinguish the light of mine own life. Verily, I ne'er recall stealing thy gas, but pray let the matter rest until anon. Why, you little... Begging your pardon, my lady, but might I suggest you don't say any more at this stage? We need hard evidence first. If I keep secretly watching this bloke, I'll get him in the end. He'll slip up. You think maybe that secret's out of the bag? This is so frustrating.
Hold it!
You keep talking about needing to take home some money. What's that all about, sir? Finish last, that's what it's about. What's that? I'm talking about the derby at Hyde Park, aren't I? It was the Queen's Cup last week, wasn't it? A derby? It was a dead cert, that's the thing. I couldn't lose, so I took my wife's secret savings, like... But then that hopeless old mare went into the unthinkable. That stupid finish last. Oh dear, I think it's clear what happened, isn't it? This is the day that Mrs. uses our savings for a trip down the pub. So come on, let this business lie now. Just give it up. No, that's not going to happen.
Hold it!
What do you really mean by that, sir? Well, I'm not one to boast, but I get up at 5 every morning, I do. At 5? You're a really early riser then, aren't you? What's that now? I said you're an early riser. Oh well, I wouldn't say that. I mean, I like to while away the hours in the evening reading books as well. By about 2 in the morning, I'm usually too tired to go on. He sleeps at 2 in the morning and gets about 5? That means he only has 3 hours of sleep each night. What's that, dear? Only 3 hours of sleep each night! She's fed up with him. That's right, you see, 3 hours of missing time, like I said. It's not much, is it? This really isn't helping. The key to summation examinations is identifying contradictions between juror statements, Mr. Naruhodo. Right, and once I found 2 jurors whose statements can't coexist, I need to pit those jurors against each other. And hopefully when they see that what they're saying doesn't make sense, they'll change their leaning. Yes, and if you're able to change the minds of a majority of the jurors, the trial will continue. But conversely, If you're unable to do that, the judge will declare the trial over and move to adjudication. And I can't let that happen. Somehow or other, I have to turn this trial around.
Objection!
Those two statements clearly contradict each other. To whose statements do you refer, counsel? Juror number 1. What are you yelling about, lad? I presume you've heard juror number 4's statement, made by the wife of the owner of Altamont Gas? Well, yes. The victim who you claim to be a noble, straight-up man. In fact, turns out to be a common thief. So the good lady says, but there's no evidence, is there? You and I both heard them say as much. It's true, we don't have evidence as such, just yet. But their claims aren't baseless, you know? What? You heard me. Seeing as his operation has already been compromised, I would suggest that the court hears testimony from our East End branch office employee over there. I'll do whatever you say, my lady. Gaspin's honor. Juror number 1, you say you're a man of your word. If I could show that Mr. Shimsbu was a liar, you assured me that you would reconsider your decision about the defendant's guilt. Yes, I did say that. And as a man of honor, I'll hold to it, as I'm sure the other gentlemen of the jury will. Me? Oh well, yes. Now that we found out the man's a liar, perhaps we ought to consider the matter further. Well, if I'm perfectly honest, I haven't heard half of what you've all been saying. So if this means we'll recap a few points, that would suit me down to the ground. Oh no, I'm not having any part of this. I want this trial over and done with. In that case, I shall change my real name. So, Mr. William Shakespeare, if that is your real name, we of the jury demand to know exactly what kind of a man you really are. And we've got enough points to continue. That's 4 jurors, 4 not guilty. Yes, Mr. Naruto, victory. Well, this is quite extraordinary, I must say. As a result of the defense's summation examination, the jury's leaning has changed. Now only 2 jurors say guilty whilst 4 say not guilty. I therefore declare this court to be in a state of disaccord, and order the trial to continue. You have spoiled the bouquet, Mr. Shakespeare. The ladies and gentlemen of the jury now find they are unable to trust you, the victim. But you gods will give us some faults to make us men. So God meant me, I do swear. This gasman speaketh that which concerns him most, not but gas, not but thin air. It burneth bright a while, but it hath no substance, and it doth reek foul. Oh wait, what did you say? Do I take it, Mr. Shakespeare, that you deny the allegations of gas thievery? Most heartily, my lord. Hast thou forgot? I am as a seraph, an angel. Noble of mind, sweet of nature, and verily, honest of heart. You flowery-mouthed, pompous beanpole, just because I haven't got the evidence yet. Mr. Shimspeare, if, in fact, you are not noble of mind, sweet of nature, or honest of heart, if you are a liar, then your testimony should have no sway in this courtroom. It is my considered opinion that at the present time, no other possible culprit of this crime has been identified. All testimony heard by the court thus far heavily implicates the defendant. In short, it would not be unreasonable at this stage for me to rule on the case. Oh no. However, in light of the fact that the jury has expressed concern about the fidelity of this witness, I believe it would be inappropriate for this court not to pursue the point further.
Objection!
I assure you, my lord, that would be a waste of the court's time. Gas in this case are unrelated. Juror number 4. Yes? Didn't you say before that although you had no hard evidence to prove this man has been stealing gas, you have strong grounds for suspecting him? That's right, we do. Don't we, Parker? Absolutely, Lord Queenby. Gasman's honor. Very well then, we will hear your testimony now. You will tell the court precisely why you believe the victim, Mr. William Shimspeare, has been stealing gas. Yes, my lord, it'll be my pleasure. On the ultimate... If I may, my lord? Go ahead, madam. This worker's testimony may have a significant bearing on the good name of my husband's company. Therefore, I should like to take the stand alongside him in a supervisory role, if you wouldn't mind. What a shrimp. Very well. As an exception, I shall honor your request. Thank you, my lord. You wait till the boss gives you an earful. Oh, it's gonna sting, you mark my words. So you will both testify before the court on the subject of the illegal consumption of the Ultima Gas Company's fuel. Yes. Is that clear, my good man? Clear as Ultima Gas, my lady. Which is the clearest in the world. Do you think the gas has gone to his head, Monsieur Sato? I think the man is just a very dedicated employee, Mr. Naruhodo. I'm proud to be the company's East End branch investigator and meter money collection agent. Altamont gas meters accept through penny bits, each coin giving customers about 2 hours of gorgeous gas. And yet the meter in Mr. Shimspeare's room didn't have a single coin in it. The meter doesn't appear to have been tampered with, though in the collection agent has the only key. Somehow he's using all the flaming gas he wants without paying a penny. That's not even what is. Pray forgive the discourtesy. The irrelevance of this testimony caused me to turn my hollowed chalice. What do you mean by that remark, Lord Von Zeeks? Did the mustachioed Nipponese poison the gangling excuse for an actor, or didn't he? That is all that should concern this court. And yet, now we must listen to this. Abhorrent. Clearly, what separates the vast British Empire and your eastern island nation is more than geographical distance. this could turn out to be crucial testimony, the cross-examination must go ahead. Do what you will. Lord Von Zieks appears to be in a violent mood. Yes, he does. An attempted poisoning and an incident of gas theft with no supporting evidence. It's true that they would appear completely unrelated at first glance. But I wonder, the truth tends to be buried in the most unusual places. And the first step in uncovering it will be to establish just who and what this man really is.
Hold it!
So does that mean you enter people's houses in order to empty their gas meters? That I do. Have to try to catch people when they're in, and ask permission to come inside and do business. Does that mean you've been into Mr. Natsume's room before, as well as that of Mr. Shimspear? Well now, interesting you should bring that up, because I couldn't believe how little money was in his meter. I mean, how the pair of them survived the winter is beyond me. It really is. Knowing Mr. Natsume, he probably spends all his gas money on books. And then when he's finished reading them, he probably burns them for warmth. You will kindly reiterate your statement about the gas meters themselves, Mr. Meterman. Not much to say, really, but as you wish.
Hold it!
So all London houses that have a gas supply are fitted with these gas meters, are they? They're the latest model, the height of technology developed by our company, Altamont Gas. And anyone who uses our gas will have one of these meters in their property, yes? So if a 3-pence coin gives 2 hours of gas, most people would use about 3 coins in a night. A bit more than that, usually. They have both gas lights and a gas stove, that is. Thinking about it, Sasuke-san doesn't have a fireplace in that room of his, does he? Some people still choose to use candles, of course, and only have gas for heating. Ah yes, I do remember seeing candles in Mr. Natsume's room, actually. And how does the money in the meter get back to you at the gas company? Every 3 days, gasmen like me visit properties on the gas supply and empty the meters of coins. I must say, the design and manufacture of the new meter cost the company an awful lot of money. But happily, it did put a stop to people not paying their dues, for the most part. Ah, because they have to pay in advance, you mean? Yes, exactly right.
Hold it!
Out of interest, how long has this been going on? Weeks and weeks. He's been pinching gas off us for ages. And you've examined the meter in Mr. Shimspeare's room, I take it? Naturally. We took it off the wall and went over it with a fine-tooth comb. And found nothing suspicious at all, I presume? No, I'm afraid we didn't. Which is exactly why I demanded a new type of meter to be produced. One with an indestructible lock. The Shimspeare Special. That sounds like it would have cost an awful lot of 3-penny pieces. But even after all that, the rascal's meter was still empty. I'll never forget the humiliation. When I opened up the money box and found it bare, "You what?" I said. "You what?" And the look on his face, that smarmy smile of his. I pulled the meter straight off the wall and took it back to the office. But you know what? Nothing. Not a trace of it being jimmied open anywhere, not a single sign. And what's happening to my salary as a result? Down by 3 shillings a day, that's what. A life-threatening situation in a number of ways. Incidentally, what became of that meter? Nothing became of it, I've still got it. Oh. Right here. No wonder they call you Meter Man. I think it would be prudent for the court to sequester this item while the trial is ongoing. Definitely. Although at first glance, there doesn't appear to be anything unusual about it. Let's move this along, shall we? Continue with your testimony. Though I would say it has as much value with as the contents of that meter.
Hold it!
There's only one key for all of your meters? Well, in truth, there's another key in the company vault at our main office. But even if someone had somehow managed to get hold of a key, we'd know if the coin box had been opened. Oh? How? I came up with a rather clever way to expose any little shenanigans as it happens. Would you care to explain? Well now, in order to empty a meter, you have to unlock the padlock and remove the cover. But when I close the cover again, I stick a little beeswax seal on it, you see. A seal? Like that sort of thing you'd put on an envelope, you know? Something like that, yes. Basically, you can't remove the cover again without breaking the seal. I feel like that's important. Is this the seal they're talking about? Oh. What is it, Mr. Naruto? This bar of soap. When you first found it, I could have sworn there was some sort of round disc in this depression just here. A reddish one. Yes, you're right. I remember it too. But now the depression is completely empty. Where could the disc have gone? That's interesting. That's a very sturdy looking padlock, isn't it? And the money box is sealed with beeswax too. So if Mr. Sholmes were to get up to any mischief, he'd be found out immediately. Mr. Naruto, mischief of that kind is not the sort of thing that Mr. Sholmes would... You know you didn't finish that sentence, don't you? Well, anyway, it's understandable that the gas company would want to safeguard the money that's rightfully theirs. But it does feel a little over the top, perhaps, doesn't it? Aha! There was a gas leak. I pinpointed this so fucking long ago. I'm crying. Have you spotted something, Mr. Naruhodo? Just here. There's a little hole, do you see? Goodness, you're right. I wouldn't have noticed. It's not a very neat hole, is it? Not professionally made, I'd say. So you think it might have been opened up by Mr. Shamspeare? Possibly. It seems the people at Altamont Gas must have missed it. Well, it certainly seems to go all the way through to the inside. Yes, but there's no way a coin could fit through there. That's true, but even so, it seems more than a little suspicious. I'm laughing. Actually, would the gas be in this portion of it, or... It has to be there. But the seal hadn't been broken either. So that would mean Mr. Shamspeare somehow managed to steal coins from inside the meter without opening it? It would seem so, but that would be impossible.
Hold it!
How do you know that he's been using gas, though? Well, now, since I started investigating this bloke, I've been to his room more than a few times. And on every single occasion, his lamps have been blazing and his stove pounding. Reed! Come on! Reed! Thank you for the sub. Reed! How are you doing? And on every single occasion, his lamps have been blazing and his stove pounding. It's the middle of winter and he still turns to me, sweat dripping down his cheeks, and says, "Get thee to a nunnery." I'm doing good. I'm glad that you're doing good as well. Hamlet indeed. I could wring the bloke's neck. I get all hot under the collar, but still. Every time I open up that flippin' meter, it's empty. He's robbing me of my salary, too. What's wrong with the world? Where's the justice? Hopefully in this courtroom. But how can Mr. Shamspeare possibly be stealing the money? I don't understand. The simple explanation is right before your eyes. What? A toast to you eventually realizing that the gasman could be an accomplice. You what? Eminently plausible indeed. Well, what do you have to say for yourself? Oh please, Lady Quinby, I'm a faithful worker. And besides, if the money us gasmen collected doesn't tally with how much gas has been used, you dock our pay by the same amount. So you'd be stealing money only to have the same amount taken from your wages. Clearly that makes no sense. Perhaps it's a case of losing the battle to win the war? No, I'm not gonna stir up that hornet's nest. If I went stealing from the company, I'd be finished. It would seem there is no evidence to support the claims of thievery made against the victim, because Mr. William Shakespeare is innocent. Pray forgive me if that shadows some illusion my learned Nipponese friend was clearly under. I certainly didn't expect to uncover another crime that looks like it's been taking place in the very same room. According to the testimony, it's only the meter in Mr. Shakespeare's room that's under suspicion. It does seem as though perhaps it has nothing to do with the incident involving Mr. Natsume. I know, it does seem that way, but the fact is, since I've been practicing law in England, I feel like I've encountered this at least once already. Cases that are interlinked. It might seem that two cases have nothing to do with one another at first, and in fact, they're intimately connected. Yes, we have experienced that before, haven't we? I wonder if this is another instance. Perhaps, but we can't be sure of that yet. If the Altamont Gas Company has been investigating Mr. Shakespeare so earnestly, there must be something to it. But then how has he been managing to steal their gas?
Objection!
Lady Altamont, I'm afraid to say that this meter clearly does show signs of having been tampered with. Get away, I've been over and over that thing. I'm telling you, there's nothing wrong with it. In that case, what do you have to say about the small hole that's been made at the base of the coin box? Hole? What? You're right, you're quite right. There is a little hole there. I am so smart. Meters aren't supposed to have that, none of the others do. In other words, we can assume that Mr. Shakespeare secretly opened up this hole himself. Yes, I wouldn't be at all surprised. But why? Yeah, why? I mean, it's tiny. You couldn't get a Barthen do that. Lady Altamont? I wonder if you could give the court some more details about your meter design. It's sort of details. Well, what I'd specifically like to know is... how does the meter tell the difference between different coins? What do you mean? Well, for example, if someone were to put in a penny coin, that wouldn't work presumably, wouldn't it? No, of course not. So, how does the meter know that the coin that's been fed is a penny bit? Ah, I see what you're getting at now. The meter tells coins apart by their shape and size, which includes their thickness. A threepenny bit is about 3/4 of an inch in diameter, you see. Other coins just won't fit. I see. It's clearly been very well thought out. The witness will amend her formal testimony with that information in case it is pertinent. As you wish, my lord.
it!
But conversely then, it would seem that anything matching a 3-pence coin exactly in terms of diameter and thickness could equally well be used. Would that be true? Well, yes, in a way. The weight comes into it as a certain extent as well. We thought of that, though anyway, if I find any fake coins inside the coin box when I empty the meter, the contract says the customer has to pay 100 times the amount they diddled as a fine. We live for moments like that, as gasmen do. Live for them. It would seem the gas company has thought of everything. Hurrah for gas, hurrah for cash, ultimate all the way. That's quite enough of that. Remind me, how big are throw penny bits? About 3/4 of an inch across. What do you think, Mr. Naruhodo? Is this 2 centimeters measurement significant? Or perhaps there's some other aspect of the meter's construction that we should be focusing on? Yes, you may be right. Perhaps I should try a different tact here. Like asking about whether the meter can be dismantled, for example. How can the meter be dismantled? Dismantled? Yes, given that there are no signs of it having been forced. I'm wondering if perhaps rather than being broken open, it might have been taken apart. Well yes, that does make some sense. The padlocks are made by a first-class locksmith from the finest quality steel. And the meter box itself is made from plate steel as well, welded shut to ensure it can't be opened again. I can assure you it's quite impossible to dismantle it. I see. The witness will enter a formal testimony with that information in case it is pertinent. As you wish, my lord. Solid steel.
Objection!
There are clearly grounds. I was just playing devil's advocate. You do appear to have something of the devil in you. Oh my god. Let's
Hold
press
it!
on this again. Has anyone ever tried? Oh yeah, they've tried, but they've all given up before long. After all, if they actually broke the meter, the company would be able to take legal action. Yes, that makes sense. What do you think, Mr. Naruhodo? Is its welded steel construction significant? Or perhaps there's some other aspect of the meter's construction that we should be focusing on? Yes, you may be right. Perhaps I should try a different tact here.
Objection!
Ah, fuck. Hmm. Ah.
Hold it!
So... I'm actually stuck. I will snack. Um... Wait a minute. Please let this be right.
Objection!
No. Um... Let me reload my save. I don't see anything I can use as a way of contradicting.
Hold it! Hold it!
Hmm. Ah. I'm thinking the medallion that's supposed to be here can be used for the coin dispenser. It looks to be about the same size as a coin. And there's a gas puddle here. But they won't count that as evidence. Or a contradiction. So I'm kinda sorta stuck.
Hold it!
I do know that he's been using gas though. Ah. This is irrelevant. This is kind of relevant because it goes into how they receive gas. The hole is too small for a coin to fit through. So it can't be that coins were being stolen back from in there. And there is a beeswax seal to keep there from being any funny business. I mean, does anyone in chat have any ideas? Um, Hold on, let me try something. I think I'm gonna be wrong, but it's worth trying out.
Objection!
Yep, I was wrong.
Objection!
I really don't see how that's...
Hold it! Objection!
Are you kidding me? I had the right idea. I had the right idea, but because I forgot to examine the soap, Uh, I had the right idea. Let me just confirm something here. If the diameter and thickness were to be correct, the meter would accept any object as if it were a through penny bit. Is that correct? Yes, that is correct. Well, by something of a coincidence, while we were investigating in Mr. Shamsbury's room, we found a particular item that matches the dimensions perfectly. Something the same size as a threepenny bit? Or was it? The item in question is this. Have you been inhaling gas? That's a bar of soap. It certainly looks nothing like a threepenny bit, I must say. It looks like I'm gonna have to point out exactly what I mean here.
Got it!
You have to turn over the soap to see what I mean. Are you referring to that round depression in the middle of the soap there? That's right. A depression that's approximately 3/4 of an inch in diameter. Or in other words, almost exactly the same size as a threepenny bit. Get away. Does anyone here present have in their possession a threepenny bit? Quickly now, hand over your coins, ladies and gentlemen. It sounds rather like a highway robbery, doesn't it? Thanks to a kind member of the public in the gallery, I have here a threepenny bit. Now to see if it fits. Aha! It couldn't be more snug. Yes, as I suspected. This, without a doubt, is a vital clue to explain how the Altamont Gas Company is being defrauded. I don't believe it. So your assertion amounts to what? That some inferior bar of soap has a tentative connection to the theft of gas? Yes. The depression in the soap was clearly made by a threepenny bit. I must concur at least that pushing a coin with some force into a poor quality bar of soap such as this is a remarkably simple way of replicating the coin's shape. And then you could use, well, some melted wax or something to pour into the mold. You could make fake coins in no time. This brings all the pieces of the puzzle together. It's the method Mr. Shamsbury has been using to steal the gas. That's the missing link. And now if I follow the chain of thought, it's going to bring me to a new explanation for what happened that nobody's considered yet. But this is all nonsense. If the man had been making fake coins, my worker here would have found them when he emptied the meter. Quite true, Lady Altamont. In the absence of some black magic that could make them disappear. I see. That's what we're dealing with, is it? There is one form of black magic that could cause the fake coins to disappear into thin air, yes? Exactly. And the meter here gives that away. What on earth? There are remnants of the magical method used visible on the gas meter taken from the victim's room. That is your assertion, Consul. The defense will identify these remnants for the court at once.
Got it!
We found this bar of soap at the scene of the crime, just outside the victim's window. Outside? Yes, outside, where you yourself, Mr. Meterman, were loitering in the freezing winter air. So... the wax could be frozen within the soap to formulate a fake coin, because the winter air is so cold. So... because the room would be heated up, because the gas would be on, it could cause the wax to melt and seep onto the floor below. That would explain why nothing could be found. So, that leakage on the floor isn't gas, it's wax. That's where we found the soap. That would explain why there were bars of soap outside the window. I thought at first that it was just because he was trying to use those as brick replacements and block the window. That's right, the answer of course is ice. Did you say ice? Mr. Shamspiro's been leaving soaps like this outside his window each evening filled with water. After a night outside in the bitter cold, the water is completely frozen solid the next morning. Then he takes his fake coins of ice and feeds them into the gas meter, giving them light and warmth in spades. Okay, so I had it a little wrong. As this room becomes very comfortably warm, the ice now melts. The ice now inside the meter's coin box melts, turning it back into water, and draining harmlessly away through the small hole made in the underside of the meter. That is how, without leaving any evidence of his wrongdoing, this man has been stealing Altamont gas. Just like that, so simply. Is he trying to make us look like idiots? He's been fooling us with all with some bars of soap and some water? That's right, madam. I don't believe it. It can't be true. Do you have any idea how much money we spent to develop that new meter? And now you have the audacity to suggest that a bit of soap and some water can render it totally useless? I'm fairly sure I didn't design it. Evidence. Sorry? I want evidence. If you're going to stand there and tell me our meters are rubbish, I want to see proof. She's very good at enforcing accountability, isn't she? Very well, Lady Altamont. If you'd like evidence, I'll provide it. Mr. Naruhodo, are you saying you do actually have evidence to support this theory? I did notice a trace of something that bothered me a little at the time. And I have a feeling that this theory we've come up with now could explain it. The piece of evidence that substantiates the theory about how Mr. Shamspiro has been stealing gas is...
Take that!
Wait, that's not in the objection. This is a photograph of the scene at the point when the victim was discovered, taken by Inspector Gregson. And it clearly shows the remnants of the crime carried out by Mr. Shakespeare. What remnants? That's for you, Zabobo. What remnants? I hydrated though. Yeah. Here you can see the gas meter on the wall in Mr. Shakespeare's room. Now look closely at the floorboards directly underneath the meter. What is that? Some kind of grubby stain. Almost certainly it's a water stain resulting from the liquid that drained out of the hole made in the meter. If one coin gives around 2 hours of gas usage and the occupant was heating his room in all its waking hours, you can imagine he would have used around 10 of his fake coins each day. Melting ice inside the meter's coin box would have been dripping out almost constantly, leaving a stain on the floor. This is awful. And there's further evidence, too. Mr. Shakespeare is slumped over his table, apparently having consumed strychnine. And right there next to him is a bar of soap broken in half. You're right. It would appear to me then, counsel, that the man was eating the soap, was he? Pardon me for disagreeing with your lordship, but... certainly not. He didn't beat around the bush there, did he? In truth, Mr. Shakespeare was found with a fork in his hand. A meal of soap is sounding increasingly like it. Do you mean to say he was using that fork too? Oh my god. Yes. To extract a frozen coin from the bar of soap. But the bar broke in half. So perhaps it didn't go very well. Good gracious. Lord Von Zeeks. I was throwing my hand up in despair. Then why'd you have to throw your bottle, too? And happened to catch my hollow bottle on the way. Hey, forgive my melodramatic mistake. What is the meaning of this, counsel? Allow me to pose my learned friend a question. What exactly did you establish with your most recent cross-examination? Well, that Mr. William Shakespeare is a liar and a thief. In other words, that his testimony is unreliable. That's it, that's exactly it. Very well, let us assume the man is a liar. Now allow me to pose another question. What possible difference does that make? Well... you know that suicide can be discounted. Scotland Yard's investigation revealed no sign of another vessel that contained poison. And on the night in question, there were no visitors to the room except the accused. The young gasman's testimony, which we have no reason to doubt, has confirmed that. Furthermore, the only possible way the poison could have entered the victim's body is via the tea. The court has seen no evidence whatsoever that suggests otherwise. Even if William Shakespeare is the liar you claim him to be, these facts have been objectively established. There's no escaping it. Therefore, in light of these facts, the prosecution calls for immediate adjudication. You what? Well, counsel, how does the defense respond? Mr. Naruhodo. Apologies, I was hydrating. What was the point of that last cross-examination? Did it actually get us anywhere? Or did it make no difference at all, like Lord Von Zieks is saying? I kind of want to wait and see. Everything is up in the air at the moment. Perhaps I should just wait and see what happens next. Mr. Naruhodo, this is no time to sit back and watch how the trial unfolds. We have to make our own way forward. The fledgling idea will never flourish into a mature argument that's able to win over the jury. Unless it's nurtured with some carefully chosen rhetoric. Susato-san, I feel like your rhetoric is more carefully chosen than anyone's sometimes. It seems your argument has run its course, to nowhere.
Objection!
No, this isn't over. The defense will not rest. What? But counsel, you've successfully explained everything. You've identified and substantiated the unscrupulous method employed by Mr. Shamspear to consume the gas. What more is there to discuss? Lord Von Zieks just highlighted 3 facts in order to make his point. Contrary to what he would have the court believe, not all of them have been objectively established at all. What are you trying to say, my Nipponese friend? At least one of those so-called facts is an assumption made due to a lack of evidence. But the situation has changed now, following the cross-examination of the latest witnesses to take the stand. Don't be absurd. What is this nonsense? Yes, when you bring everything we've learned so far together and consider it as a whole, it's clear. There's a question that we now need to reconsider, namely... let me think. Suicide can be discounted. And on the night in question, there were no visitors to the room except the accused. Um... So there are things running through my mind. Lord Von Zeeks pointed out earlier that the Gasman could have been an accomplice earlier. When it comes to well, when it came to stealing gas. And it still is up in the air on whether or not someone else was a visitor. Because the only one that can really truly vouch for the fact that there were no other visitors is the Gasman. And it could have been after Natsume visited, which he left at 11 and arrived 2 hours before. The Gasman has been there all night and day, supposedly. We really don't have any reason to disbelieve that the tea wasn't poisoned. There is a tea ring, though. I kinda wanna question... Kinda wanna question if there was another visitor. I feel like, was someone else responsible and was there another visitor are more or less the same question. Because if we say if there was another visitor, we're basically implicating that visitor could be the culprit. If the assumption is that if our statement is basically that we're claiming Lord Von Zeeks is assuming something, based off of that, then the real question would really be, was the poison in the tea? Because everyone is assuming that. Because there's no evidence to prove otherwise, because there was nothing left in the tea cup. The teacup. So... it's tricky. What is Strike 9, actually? I need to look that up. Strike 9 is a highly toxic, colorless, bitter, crystalline alkaloid used as a pesticide, particularly for killing small vertebrates such as birds and rodents. Strychnine prevents the proper operation of the chemical that controls nerve signals to the muscles. The chemical controlling nerve signals works like the body's off switch for muscles. When this off switch does not work correctly, muscles throughout the body have severe painful spasms. If it's meant to temporarily put yourself out of commission, let me just take a wager and say... what if it was somebody else entirely who poisoned the victim? If that's your assertion, by all means tell us who it was. Well... was this mysterious third-party counsel? I think it's a little too soon to be naming names, my lord. Okay, so yeah, that was wrong. We've all been led to believe that the strychnine poison that afflicted Mr. Shim's beer wasn't the tea brought to him by Mr. Natsume, but that's conjecture at best.
Objection!
The victim has testified that nothing else passed his lips that night. There was no other possibility. And since there was no trace of the tea left at the scene, it couldn't be tested for traces of that poison. As I said, the situation has changed. Because in fact, some of Mr. Natsume's tea was left at the scene. And a particular piece of evidence proves it.
Objection!
Ludicrous claim. Scotland Yard detectives investigated the scene exhaustively. What evidence are you suggesting they missed? The defense has made a bold claim indeed. Very well, counsel. Present your proof. That's a good question. The reason I want to provide this is because wait, but the tea ring doesn't prove anything. It just proves that Mr. Natsume drank his tea quicker than Mr. Shamspear. I don't want to keep guessing, but it's getting relatively tricky. What evidence from the scene crime can tell us about the nature of the defendant's tea? The defendant? Oh, wait. The fact that he wanted to drink the tea cold could just be an excuse. He could have poisoned the tea after Mr. Natsume left.
Take that!
Oh. Let's see. If we're trying to find out Mr. Natsume's cup,
Take that!
Yep. What's the assumption we're trying to make again? Oh. Wait.
Take that!
Yes, it's this. The reddish brown... Stupid controller. The reddish brown thing was tea. Controller, please. Getting an off-brand Switch Pro controller was a mistake. Give me a moment. Well, controller doesn't seem to work anymore. Never get an off-brand Switch Pro controller. I'll just have to do everything with keyboard controls. Good gracious. The soap again? The same bar the victim used to fashion his coins of ice? Yes, that's right, my lord. It's just come back to me. Something about when we first found this bar of soap at the scene yesterday. It's more bars of soap. Soap? What are bars of soap doing lined up on a ledge outside the window? I'm quite certain that when we originally stumbled upon the bars of soap, there was actually a frozen coin in each bar. So you discovered the gas thieves' coin factory. Fascinating. In a way, yes, but there's more. The coins we found in the soap at the time weren't normal ice. There was something strange about them, you mean? Exactly. Something very obviously strange. They were red. The ice was red? No, you mean... That's right. It's obvious to me now. The fake coins in the soap were made from frozen tea. I would remind the court of a statement made by Mr. Natsume earlier in this trial. That evening, yes, I did take some freshly brewed tea with me when I visited Mr. Shamspeare's room as a gift. The public water pump outside always freezes at night, so I bought bottled water especially to make it. And this as a result. Never will I touch tea again. Never. Ah yes. I believe there had been a snowfall that day. It was particularly cold. Sadly, on such occasions, the poorly constructed water mains in the East End are prone to freezing. So on the night in question, Mr. Shamspeare, having no running water to use, was forced to use the tea brought by Mr. Natsume in order to make his fake coins. Ooh, I didn't think about that. There were 2 bars of soap on the window ledge when my judicial assistant and I investigated the scene. That's right, and we only borrowed one of them. Which means that even as we speak, some of the defendant's tea is still present at the scene of the crime. Wasn't solid in a bar of soap outside Mr. Shamspeare's window. Extraordinary. Earlier today, Inspector Gregson informed the court that if even one drop of the tea remained, Scotland Yard would be able to analyze it for poison. As such, we are now in a position to prove or disprove what has now, until now, been mere conjecture. By finding out for sure whether or not Mr. Natsume's tea actually contained strychnine at all. Ooh, we pinned you into a fucking corner, you smug Nipponese. My lord, I cannot do the defendant the injustice of passing judgment now. The police should be dispatched to recover the remaining bar of soap from the scene at once. And the defense requests a thorough analysis of the frozen tea embedded in it to determine whether or not it contains any poison. Instruct the police to attend the scene at once. Ooh. It would seem we have no choice but to suspend these proceedings for the time being. I trust you have no objections, Lord von Zeeks? None, my lord. Scotland Yard will recover the tea from the scene and carry out the requisite tests immediately. The trial will resume at the same hour tomorrow. Tomorrow? Prosecution and defense may conduct further investigations as appropriate in the interim. Yes, my lord. Well, we managed to scrape through there somehow. Thank you, counsels. Court is adjourned until tomorrow. To be continued. Ooh. However, I do have to wean my way back into actually reading out lines of dialogue for so long, since it's been a while since I've done so. So I'm gonna go on ahead and end stream right now. But I am gonna go on ahead and raid somebody. And because it's been a good while since they've actually been around, I feel compelled to raid Seal. So this was the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. If you want to see various art that I make, memes that I make, or video game clips that I post, I have a Twitter. I also have a Discord, apparently, from how I typed it. A Discord server that everyone above the age of 18 is free to join. And with that, we are going to go on ahead and raid Seal. Thank you all for joining me tonight, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!